Alright, so we're going to get into the part where we install the BROOK UFB into the 8-arc stick. We already took out the PCB and we disconnected all the wires. So you want to actually cut the connector that connects the daughter board to the PCB. And you just can cut all the wires. There's really nothing you need to prepare for. A couple things to pay attention to is the daughter board. It tells you where the buttons go. So there is a select, mode, turbo, PlayStation button, ground, and switch. The weird thing about this is on the daughter board, select is actually start, mode is select. So the first install is going to be getting the BROOK UFB into the stick without needing to solder anything. The only thing is when you do this, you don't actually have a touchpad as your select button. So if you're playing training mode for games like Marvel vs. Capcom or Ultra Street Fighter 4 or even Street Fighter 5, you need the touchpad to be able to reset your positioning. So I'll follow up with the next video is going to be how to get your select and all that stuff. So with the BROOK UFB, you have a 20-pin connector on it, which will be used for the 8 face buttons. And then because there's no actual buttons that you can plug quick disconnects into, you guys can see ground, start, select, PlayStation, Xbox guide button, and the voltage connector. And the voltage connector you get from the LED panel. There's always a rule of thumb that if you have a PCB, it should always be powered. So on the daughter board, you guys can see there's a variety of wires. The ones you'll need to cut at the other end of the connector are the black wire, the red wire, the blue wire, and the green wire, as well as the voltage wire from the LED daughter board. Your black wire is going to be your start button, the red wire is going to be the select button, the blue wire will be your guide button, and the green button will be your ground. So you'll want to strip those wires and then plug them into the appropriate panels on the BROOK UFB. But by doing so, you are going to lose the PlayStation 4 touchpad functionality. But if you look in the description, there will be a link that will tell you how to add touchpad functionality to your PS4 stick, as well as add the PS4 share functionality with the BROOK UFB. Now we have to connect the actual 20-pin harness. And as I said, these are each broken down into individual wires. Your kicks are ground on one side, your joystick is on the side, and then you have this side for your punches, and then there's a grouping of 3 wires, which is usually used for your start, home, and select buttons. But because those aren't existent on this stick, we don't actually need to worry about this set of wires, at least as far as this stick is concerned. So what we can do is we can just put a zip tie around that, just so they aren't flying around everywhere. And then we can snip that. But originally on the on this stick, the joystick PCB is oriented like this. With the BROOK UFB connector, you actually need to rotate it 180 degrees so that the plug is facing towards the cable holder, whatever you want to call that. So we're going to plug the 20-pin harness in. Stupid me. And the easiest way in the orientation for it is pin 1 is up, so you need to have the direction part of the cable on the right side where pin 1 is. So we plug the 20-pin harness, that's really out of focus, into the 20-pin header, and that just pushes on relatively easily. So when we have it on now. So for installing the 20-pin connector, we first want to make sure that the SOMO JLF connector is connected to the JLF PCB. After that, it's just a matter of plugging in all the quick disconnects to the buttons. With the 20-pin connector, everything you need is color-coded. So for the punch buttons, those are going to be in a grouping of 4. You need to connect those, and from 1P to 4P, those colors are going to be blue, rose, gray, and purple. So once you plug those in, you want to do the same with the kicks, and those colors from 1K to 4K are going to be orange, yellow, green, and black.
You kind of want to keep everything together because once you zip tie all the wires together, you want to make sure that they're as close as possible. And then you need to install the ground wires, which is one long daisy chain. You can connect that however you want, but the way that I did it for this stick was I started at 1K and then went to 1P and then 2P, 2K, and just kind of went up and down and left and up and down and left, however you want to do it. With this, there's no buttons that are going to use the start, select, and guide buttons, so I just zip tied those wires together and stuck them at the bottom of the stick. It just makes it for easy storage.
And for this stick, we're not going to use the new trick, simply because there is a part where you can put the cable and lock it in, so you don't have to worry about the cable falling out or anything like that. On a stick like like the old Tekken H-Wraps, I would use one. I actually have used them because there's nowhere to put a cable or anything. But what we're going to do is the cable compartment will usually house the USB cable. And what we're going to do is try not to get everything caught up. Is we'll basically feed it through the hole where the cable would go, which is usually right there. And we're just going to figure out a proper length to plug it in. So, like I said earlier, it's like this prevents you from putting the other screw in, which, you know, you don't have to really worry about it. It's pretty secure with just one screw as is. And we're going to feed it through. And I'm actually going to put a knot into the cable, just so that there is some tension there and you don't risk pulling the cable out at any time. So we put the knot in there and we just use that to pin it in. You can follow it up with zip ties if you want. Then you can adjust where you want the knot to be. So like the more tension that you have on the cable, the better. Or I should say the more tension relief you have on the cable, the better. Because then you don't run the risk of the cable fraying or something happening as you're using it. So I have 2 tension spots for that. Now it's plugged in with the USB. And everything is pretty much secure. You can throw some zip ties in if you want, but that is basically the setup for the BROOK UFB kit. But that, again, you do lose the ability of touchpad, but you guys will see how to get your touchpad functionality back and still keep a select button, which you need, because to update the BROOK board you have to be able to hit guide and select at the same time, and the touchpad does not count as a select button, so we will go over that. Just click below.